Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another The Sports Goo video. We're continuing our off-season moves series. If you guys are new, it is where we talk about, we're trying to at least, every single NFL team and what they should do in the offseason. Today, we are doing the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to talk about players they should cut/let go in free agency, talk about players that they should re-sign within their roster as well, talk about some players they should sign in free agency, and then we get into the NFL draft. We do their first round, second round pick, and give you targets they should go for. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to stick around.
So, Indianapolis Colts, interesting start to their free agency. They already brought in Carson Wentz in a trade. They have $43 million to spend in cap, but they're going to want to make more out of that. So, I would say T.Y. Hilton should be their first guy they let go. He's regressing very much so. He's 31 years old. He's not elite anymore. He's not the same. He's already worth a lot of money, so I don't think they want to pay him any more than they're already paying him. And they already have Pittman, Pascal, a heavy run team. I don't think they have any reason to keep on to him other than his connection with the line, maybe. But I don't think there's really any reason they have to keep him, though.
It's just T.Y. Hilton. We saw his progression hit him like an absolute train in 2020. You have a young receiving core. You have an early draft pick that can be wide receiver can be addressed there. Wentz is coming in. You kind of got a whole new system coming into Indianapolis. So I think T.Y. Hilton will let go. And again, these aren't cuts, so we're not, we're not cutting these players. We're just letting them go to free agency, not re-signing them. And that player will be Justin Houston, the defensive end. Again, it's like T.Y. Hilton. He's 32. Houston isn't gonna get any better, is what we're trying to say. His production is already not amazing. With the cap space they have, again, defensive end can be addressed, whether that's in the draft or in free agency. I think signing him to anything more than a one-year deal just wouldn't be worth it due to his age.
Houston in his prime is almost as scary as any outside linebacker or defensive end I've ever seen, but he's just not at that level anymore, and I don't think they can afford to pay him.
So let's get into some re-signings within their roster. They don't have too many free agents. Again, we're not going to talk about the ones that aren't as important. We have three for you guys. Let's get into number one, Malik Hooker, the safety. We are thinking a 2-year deal worth $15 million throughout those 2 years. Obviously, he's 24. He's young. He still has upside. He still has potential to be very good. I believe he was injured in week 2. Again, it's a good safety class, and me and Dylan were kind of discussing before we recorded, do they go with, maybe a Jaquiski Tart or a Simmons and splash cash on a safety? I don't think so. Malik Hooker, again, 2 year, $50 million. You're not paying him a ton of money, especially with the cap. Dylan said they had, I believe, they're third in cap space in the NFL, so they have money to spend. And I think Malik Hooker is someone they should bring back. They had a great defense, so I don't think addressing a safety when you have, ones that can play well in Hooker and obviously Blackman. I think he makes sense to re-sign, and we'll bring him back, as I said, 2 year, $50 million.
Here comes Jacoby Brissett. 1 year, $12.5 million on a contract. And I know what you guys are thinking. They just brought in Wentz. Why do they need to pay this much for another quarterback? Because if Carson Wentz does Carson Wentz at the Eagles, he does what he did this year, this Colts team won't make the playoffs. Now, offensively, a player that could help them in many ways, providing depth for Carson Wentz and in the run game, Jacoby Brissett. We saw a lot as a gadget player last year, almost like how Taysom Hill played at the Saints. But I think we could see a much bigger role for him this year if Carson Wentz doesn't work out, because Jacoby Brissett, 11-19 as the starter, which isn't great, but he won them 11 games, and the team is improving. So I think with the weapons he'll have around him now, he could win them more games. And just remember how bad Wentz was this year, and just think about if he just doesn't turn everything around, because everyone's expecting him to do it. But if he doesn't, Jacoby Brissett is a great guy to have as your backup to help you get back on your feet.
All right, let's get on to the last re-sign. We have Xavier Rhodes to a 2-year, $8.5 million deal. Obviously, he signed a 1-year deal from the Vikings last year. That was worth about $3 million. Again, their secondary was good. Why change it? Very good leader. He had 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown. He's stability. He's an experienced cornerback. Again, we saw him have regression with his last year in the Vikings, and then he came to the Colts and was kind of revived. He looked really good. Again, he's 30, so we're not signing him to a massive deal. but I think more than a 1-year deal. He's not expensive, obviously, getting paid around, $4.25 million a year, which isn't a ton of money, especially when you have the cap space like the Colts. So I think if you bring back Xavier Rhodes, he's an old guy. You have a young secondary, obviously Blackman, Rock Ya-Sin, Kenny Moore, and now we're signing Malik Hooker, and I think he brings experience to that secondary.
Moving on to players that they're going to bring in free agency, and this is interesting for the Colts because the cap space that they'll have, it's good for them. And I just think with the amount of money they have, they're going to have to splash it somewhere. It's not going to be where I'm talking here. 1 year, $9 million to wide receiver Sammy Watkins. And there are a lot of good receivers in this class. You can look at Juju Smith-Schuster, Kenny Galladay, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin. But I think they're going to go with Sammy Watkins because, first of all, he's not as expensive as them. And second of all, he's a big target for Carson Wentz. But he doesn't demand the ball. He's not a player who needs to be the number one receiver. And it lets Michael Pittman develop against top corners maybe, while Sammy Watkins might not have as much coverage. And it'll help Michael Pittman's development to be sitting behind a guy, but also be covered by maybe the top corners.
I think Sammy Watkins is a good signing. Again, experienced guy. We saw what he's done in Kansas City, can be very explosive at times, why he was picked so high, had a ton of potential, still does, only 27, so still has time. Technically, he's in his prime. So I think if the Colts can get the best out of him, give Wentz weapons.
Yeah, I'd like to see them revive him because he was unbelievable at the Bills.
Yeah, and in college. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to, we only have 2 free agent signings, so we're not splashing the cash. We're mainly keeping this Colts team the same as they were very good. I think, again, they were like the Rams, like other teams. They were kind of a quarterback away. We have Larry Ogunjobi, the defensive tackle from Cleveland. We have him on a 3-year, $27 million deal. Again, the Colts are getting value without spending a ton of money. Very effective run stopper. And in a league where you've seen Derrick Henry take your entire defense, put them into a bed and hush them to sleep, you need a very good player who can stop him. And I'm not saying Ogunjobi's going to be like, oh my God, he's put in there and Derrick Henry's going to get no yards against the Colts. But I think if stopping him, obviously you have Buckner, and then you have that, defensive line, which can be addressed. I think Ogunjobi provides run stopping and stability at that position. Again, only 26, so he has years ahead of him. Not very expensive, so there's not as much of a downside to signing him.
Fights with Mason Rudolph aside, no one really knows who Larry Ogunjobi is, but I think bringing him into this Colts team could shed some light on how good of a player he is and maybe a Pro Bowl. I'm really high on him.
All right, let's get into the NFL draft. Yes, I took my hat off and I have a haircut, so I look like a square. I don't want to hear any slander in the comments.
You are a square.
All right. To be fair, did we see Dylan's haircut when he joined the channel? So I'm going to say.
All right, I'll be quiet.
All right, let's get into the NFL draft. So obviously we've seen Costanzo retired. So we're going to pick 21 who they should take. And we're going to go with Samuel Cosme, the offensive tackle out of Texas. Massive guy, 6'7", very good recovery footwork. Someone who's good in the run game. I was very high on Eichenberg. We talked to Dylan. He's dropped a bit. So we're not going to take him here. And compared to Tyler Decker in the NFL, one of the quickest tackles in the draft. And I think someone who is a starter and can go in and fill in for Costanzo with that size, and obviously with the offensive line they have, he can really improve it, which is scary to see as they probably have the best offensive line in the league. So I think he should be one of their targets there at 21.
This guy's a beast. He could be one of the best tackles in the league in a few years. I agree that they should take him here, but just addressing that he's an injury waiting to happen, sitting at 6'7" feet tall. It's just not gonna look good for his knees in a few years. But get the value out of him while you can. He could be one of the best players on that line. We're gonna assume, for argument's sake, that the Indianapolis Colts don't get Sammy Watkins and they don't get Samuel Cosme, because I think he's their number one choice at 21. But I think Terrence Marshall as a receiver could be really impactful for this team with Carson Wentz throwing it to him. He's a big guy, good in the red zone. He's just someone that Wentz can trust, I feel like. And you don't have that out of rookie receivers often. This year you only saw really Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and T. Higgins that are the most trustworthy receivers. Sure, Ayuk is good, but he's not a guy you're going to throw the ball to if you need a big first down on 4th and 10. I feel like Terrence Marshall, his maturity of just past his years as a receiver, and he's just the guy that a safe pick as a receiver that I want to see.
All right, let's get on to pick 54 now, their second round pick. We have two options they could take here. Number one, since they haven't really addressed corner throughout, obviously they re-signed Rhodes, but Greg Newsome, the second out of Northwestern, one of a pretty decent corner class. Obviously, Newsome's a good cornerback, but with a secondary in the Indianapolis Colts, I would say it's their weakest link, but it's not really a weak link because their defense is very well rounded. He would shore that up. He gives depth, obviously, with his assume maybe they don't re-sign Rhodes and then Newsome fills in for him. Shutdown quarter, he was very good for the Wildcats over in Northwestern, and he has ideal size at 6'1", so he's a long corner, can stay with receivers, obviously like AJ Brown, whoever the Jaguars take in the draft. And I think he's that guy that can go in and be kind of that Julian Blackmon, maybe if he's developed right with this defensive coordinator and this defensive culture you've made in Indianapolis, and be a very, very good defensive weapon. All right, so I lied to you. We only have one option there. Greg Newsome will be. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy the video. We are going to keep pumping out these off-season moves videos for you. As I said, if you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe. You guys blew up our Bengals one. That one has about like 700 views or something. So you guys are showing us so much for support. So we're going to continue with these. As well, turn the notification bell so you do not miss a video. We're going to get a ton of off-season content, all the breaking news, all that kind of stuff. Follow us on Instagram. Our socials are linked down below. Our Instagram, our podcast, our website, as well as our second channel where we post clips. We try to, at least. And you can message us on Instagram. We're very active there. So if you want to get in touch, you're new, you want to, talk football, go message us over there, drop a follow. We'll see you in the next time. Make sure to comment down below what you guys think.
Get to 1,500 subscribers.
Yeah, get us to 1.4K. That would mean the world. We're, I think, like 5 away. So if you're new and you made it to the end, why not subscribe? You obviously like the video. So we'll see you next time. Thank you guys so much for watching.